So India's 2024 general election, we're talking about the biggest democratic event on the entire planet. But right after the votes were tallied, this huge storm of controversy just blew up. And it all boils down to one incredibly powerful accusation that the election was stolen. We're going to dive into what's really behind these claims of vote chori, which, as you'll see, means vote theft.
Okay, so to really get a grip on what's happening here, you first have to understand this one key phrase. Vote chori. It literally translates to vote theft. And that name, it says it all, right? It captures the heart of the accusation perfectly. The idea here isn't about, a few small mistakes. It's about a claim of a deliberate, systemic plot to actually steal the election and ignore what the people wanted.
And who's leading the charge with these claims? Well, a major figure here is Rahul Gandhi, a key leader in the opposition. And believe me, he is not holding back. He's straight up accusing the ruling BJP party of, and I quote, planting its people all through the system. But here's the most explosive part of his allegation. He's saying that the Election Commission of India, the one group that's supposed to be the neutral referee in all of this, is actually part of the problem.
All right, so those are some massive accusations, right? But what's the proof? What evidence is actually being put forward? Well, it all kicked off with this one specific, almost kind of unbelievable story that really got everybody talking.
And this number, 80. This is what started the whole firestorm. In just one area in Bangalore, investigators reportedly found over 80 different voters all registered to a single tiny room. Think about that. An issue that obvious, that glaring, it immediately made people question the integrity of the whole voter list.
And here's the key point the opposition is making. They're saying this whole 80 voter room thing, it wasn't just some weird one-off clerical mistake. No, they're arguing it's a symptom of a much bigger problem. Like it's evidence of a deliberate, systematic plan to mess with the voter rolls, probably to sneak in a bunch of fake voters who would support the ruling party.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, but that's just one room in one city. And if it was, maybe you could dismiss it. But that's just not what happened. Pretty soon, similar red flags started popping up in different states all over India. And when you put them all together, it starts to look less like a local problem and more like a potential nationwide issue.
Just take a look at the variety of these allegations. Up in Haryana, you've got claims of big differences between the paper ballot counts and the final numbers from the electronic voting machines, the EVMs. Then in Varanasi, which is actually the Prime Minister's own constituency, the accusation was about duplicate or fake registrations. And then you go down to Kerala, and it's basically the Bengaluru story all over again, with hundreds of voters registered to commercial buildings or, get this, addresses that don't even exist.
So, with all these accusations flying in from all over the country, you've got to wonder, how did the ruling party and the Election Commission react? Well, let's just say this is where things get even more heated.
What we're seeing now is a total political standoff. You've got the opposition on one side, and they're demanding a full legal investigation. They're accusing the Election Commission of just ignoring what they say is clear evidence of fraud. And then on the other side, you have the ruling BJP and the Election Commission firing back with a pretty simple response. These claims are baseless, and if you've got proof, show us. Show us some real, concrete proof.
But wait, the ruling party isn't just defending themselves. In a pretty major move, they've completely turned the tables. They're now accusing the opposition leaders of actually benefiting from the exact same problems they're complaining about. It's a huge escalation. They've even called for them to resign, which basically amounts to calling them hypocrites and just makes this whole political divide even wider.
So with both sides digging in their heels like this, where does that leave India? The world's largest democracy. This thing has ballooned way beyond a simple political fight. It's now become a battle over the very integrity of the country's entire democratic system.
And that, right there, is what's truly at stake. All of this back and forth, all the accusations, all the denials, it's put the Election Commission and the whole election process under an intense microscope. The real question, the core issue, is now about trust. Can almost 1 billion voters still believe that their elections are fair and free?
So, what happens now? Where do we go from here? Well, all of this pressure is forcing a very necessary conversation.
We're now seeing these widespread calls for transparent, independent audits to really figure out what is going on with these voter rolls. And the hope, of course, is that this leads to some real action, not just to patch up the problems, but to start the long, hard work of rebuilding public trust in the system.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most critical question of all. In an environment that's so politically charged, where trust is already stretched so thin, how can a system this massive, this complex, prove that it's fair? How does it actually go about restoring faith for almost 1 billion people? That really is the fundamental challenge that India's democracy is grappling with right now.